In our successful presentation, the initial step of the presentation is known as the discovery, involving the process of uncovering what this client has in their mind and in their head. If you're arriving at that house on a lease, correct? Simply put, you're going to ask the client in a conversational manner, not like an interrogation, never ever, just as a conversation, to kindly request this information that is required for the lease agreement. If you are talking to a referral that a client or a friend of yours has given you, you are going to ask them what motivated them to want to hear a little bit of this information, what motivated them to want to find out more. To offer suitable support, it is vital for us to determine the client's motivation for inquiring about this topic, which is already quite agile and delicate in nature. In my discovery, I am going to work with a mnemonic called MATAF. M for motivation, E for experience, T for time, H for intermittent children, A for savings, and F for death. So, when I arrive at that house and I introduce myself, right, and I say to him, let's see, Mr. Client, what motivated you to request this information that is so important? Is it your responsibility, or is it the case that you have had some situation in which you were going through a moment of mourning? And I stay quiet, and the client is going to start talking to me. The client is going to give me their reasons. Many people probably tell us that they have requested this information or that they want to know a little more simply because they already understand the age they have, right? It is an important moment to seek this type of protection. Other people are going to tell us that they want or are motivated to search for this information because unfortunately someone knocked on their doors asking for money because a relative had died and they don't have money to cover the funeral. Other individuals engage in this behavior because they understand in their respective jobs that a coworker, a family member has died. Something that clicks in their head and says, look, I had never thought about this, but we really have to think about it, especially in this country. So I am getting to know my client's motivation. In the E of experience, I am simply going to ask the client, Mr. Client, have you had any experience in the funeral planning of a family member, a friend, a neighbor, a brother from your church where you have been involved and that has been in this country? And the client is going to tell them, look, if I have had any experience or I have not had any experience, in the event that the client tells you yes, that they have had some experience, well, with a lot of subtlety and a lot of respect, we say to them, okay, and who died? So the client is going to disclose their information and inform us, look, I was involved in the death of my father or a sibling, and with the same level of respect, inform them, okay, and what kind of funeral planning did you undertake for your family member? Did you opt for a traditional service? Did you choose cremation? How much money did you allocate for that service? Did that person, that family member, have any type of insurance, any prearrangements? And the client is going to provide me with the necessary information. Additionally, I would like to inquire, sir, about the kind of funeral arrangements you would prefer to make when that moment arrives. And listen, I always have to have active listening, okay? Because that will give me a lot of information that I will come back and tell you. I will use it in the closing. And the client is going to tell me, oh, well, no, look, I want to plan a traditional service, or I want to plan a cremation, or I simply want to be taken to my country. Whatever the client desires to do, I must be informed about it. And then, at this particular moment, I should also inquire, sir client, whether you possess any life insurance to safeguard that moment. Yes or no? Do you have any prearrangement? Yes or no? And the client is going to tell me, okay? In late time, ask my client, and you have a lot of time thinking about looking for this information, and he will tell me if he looks since my father died 5 or 6 years ago. I am looking for this information, but I had never taken a step forward. Or no, it was a few days ago that unfortunately a neighbor came asking for money for a loved one. And that's where I said, I have to look for this information. Or 8 years ago, 3 years ago, or simply, no, I don't have much time thinking about this, but I do want to know how this works. With the H of sons, it is extremely important to inquire our customers about the number of offspring they possess. when that lady I'm talking to tells me she has 2, she has 3, she has 4 children, whatever, we simply congratulate her. Oh, how good, ma'am, that you have so many children. I mean, everyone should help her. You should have an economically peaceful life. And the lady is going to inform me whether they all assist me or they do not assist me at all. I am already starting to understand my client's financial situation. In the event that the client tells me if I have 4 children and those children are all here in the United States, are they all in their city or are they located in other cities? Your children, Mrs. Client, already have their own families, they possess their own jobs, they have their own responsibilities, correct? And let her continue informing me. Why? Because ultimately at the conclusion, if she informs me, oh, look, allow me to manage everything, I'm going to communicate with my children because they are the individuals who make decisions for me, I simply inform her, oh, well, Mr. Client, but which of the children? Those who are still in their country, who have not been able to come, or those who are already so committed to their own families with their own budgets that it would be very difficult for them to solve, or with that child who still lives at home and whom you help. Okay? Important to know the part of the children. The savings account, I really don't like asking the client, do you have savings to pay for a funeral service? I don't touch it because I consider the financial part to be very delicate. But yes, I know that if my client tells me, you know what, I have enough savings to cover a death emergency. So the question would be, okay, if the client says it's good that you have savings, I congratulate you very much because it's truly challenging to save money in this country with its high cost of living. Now, with all due respect, are these savings that you have exclusively for a funeral service, or are they savings for anything and any kind of need that may arise in your home environment? And he's going to tell me, oh no, look, if the car gets damaged, I have to use those savings to repair it. If something occurs to the fence, I must withdraw funds from that source in order to fix it. Or there are numerous clients who will then inform us, no, look, my savings, I have already communicated to my wife, my husband, my savings are exclusively designated for funeral planning purposes. We asked him, congratulated him, how good that you have that savings fund. Now the question I want to ask you, are your wife's savings in the same account as yours? Does your wife have access to the money and passwords? Does she have the signature? Are your children beneficiaries of that money? I inquire about all these questions to the client because when that moment arrives promptly, the banks create a log to the accounts. That is correct. And that money, for the children or the widow to be able to withdraw it, it is not going to be overnight and it is not going to be easy. It is already a process where it is very likely that lawyers will have to be involved in order to withdraw that money. So I am making this comment because with those savings, your loved ones may not be able to afford a funeral service because they require the funds immediately, not in a lengthy period of time like several weeks or months from now. And finally, in my discovery, in my goal, I have the letter F for death. In the face of death, we, as professional agents, will look very seriously at our client's face, at their eyes, and we will say, let's see, Mrs. Client, if you had not passed away yesterday, may God take care of you and provide comfort during this difficult time of loss and grief. But if something had occurred yesterday, such as her husband and her children were resolving today, which of her children has the ability to contribute $10, $12, or $15,000 to address a funeral emergency on this table? And we remain silent, okay? And the response from that client will surely be, as it would be very tough, it would be very difficult, it would be a challenge. That's why I'm looking for this information, okay? And then I will proceed to ask the same question to the husband, in case I have the husband present at the table, or the son, or the daughter, or the sister, whoever happens to be sitting with me at the table. I will ask them the same question because it is crucial for that client to envision that particular scenario, right? And realize that if something happens and you have no protection, right, it will be very hard, very difficult, and very expensive for your loved ones to resolve a funeral emergency. So, group of individuals, this is the discovery, which is my initial step in my successful and triumphant presentation.